gather around, we are ready to begin our press conference announcing our affiliation with the NHL's Arizona Coyotes. Apparently there are lively people on Monday afternoons. My name is Mark Cadetti. I'm the Director of Media Relations and the radio broadcaster of the Rapid City Rush, and it's an honor to have all of you here today and take time out of your days, and for all of our media members to take times out of their hectic schedules to come down and cover this very exciting event. Before we begin with the special presentation, I just want to briefly introduce our panel up here. Rapid City Rush President Todd Mackin, the Assistant General Manager of the Arizona Coyotes and General Manager of the Tucson Roadrunners, Steve Sullivan, and then Rapid City Rush Head Coach Daniel Tatro. With that being said, please direct your attention to the video board for a special presentation.
Welcome to forever, man. Let's go. Come on. It's forever. No surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. And there will be no surrender. Now allow me to reintroduce myself. They call me J.O.M. to the easy E-N. Know that we undefeated, yellow beneath them speeches, trying to air a grievance. But his lines are overhead, better check the air for clearance. Call the tower, this is our clear to heat the air apparent. Really, I never been better. Legacy, this is forever. All the more times I've been seven, I'm raising the bar, you can go ahead and measure. Think about top with toes. Time that we go through the goat. Yo, when just giving, I think about time that somebody go get him that coat. You know I got all that anthem, come back, ain't what you call that add-on. Got anthems and bands with masters, getting them right like my name was Miranda. I ain't bigger dead than alive, I ain't bigger dead than alive. One more time, this is forever, remember the legend, he never gon' die, yeah. I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive, dead than alive, yeah. I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive, making sure that you know why. Really, I never been better. Legacy, this is forever. Really, I never been better. Legacy, this is forever. Really, I never been better. The legacy live on forever. Yeah, remember the legend and know that he never surrendered. Because this is forever. And there will be no surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right here forever.
In case you've missed out on the last couple of weeks, this is a very, very exciting time to be a part of the Rapid City Rush organization for a number of reasons. Obviously, to formalize this affiliation is one of them, and then we decided to really make a splash with it and get our logos on a NASCAR in an official Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race. So it's been quite a hectic but very exciting and optimistic time to be a member of the Rapid City Rush organization. For further remarks on the affiliation and all the other news that we've had recently, I now welcome to the podium the president of the Rapid City Rush, Todd Mackin.
I'm going to have to pull this up a little bit from Mark and I, maybe different sizes. But thank you everyone for being here. To echo Mark's comments, what an exciting couple weeks. We are so thrilled about this affiliation. We were thrilled to be on a NASCAR on Sunday. We were thrilled about the direction of this organization, new ownership group that's come in along with Scott Mueller. We brought a new, fun, and exciting staff that's hopefully doing some cool things. We had a great event with our season ticket holders last night with a great new partner of ours. And then we're also doing Rush Night at the Spearfish Sasquatch tomorrow night. So we are out and about in the community, and that's what we're doing, and we're here to stay. And just much like hopefully this relationship is. When we started this process, I know a lot of our fan base was really trying to figure out what the direction of this team was going to be, what the direction of this organization was going to be. And from day one, I've said we're looking for the right affiliation. Not an affiliation just to have one, but the right one with synergy that's a good fit for us and that we see as something that we can carry into the next 5-10 years. And Arizona was a perfect fit for that. And most of that started with the gentleman that I'm going to introduce here next, but also worked all the way down to the equipment manager of the Roadrunners is the dad of the equipment manager of us. So, I mean, you can get down to some really brass tacks of the things that we're trying to do here. And we want this relationship to continue to grow, to continue to develop, and that speaks to the development of what our league is becoming. This is a developmental league. Our goal is to take players that play at this level and get them on to the next level, all the while teaching them to be men, good leaders in our community, and to win hockey games. And our league is all behind that, all in. We have one team in our league right now that's not affiliated, and I expect that'll change at some point to where every team in our league is going to continue to grow these affiliations. The key to that is then to grow that relationship. I think today is a great first step in that. I thought Sunday, us being on a NASCAR together was a fun step to that. But it's a work in progress, and we're going to continue to work as hard as we possibly can. I'm excited about the opportunity to work with the Coyotes, especially with Steve, and I'm certainly excited about the future of this organization. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Steve Sullivan.
Thanks for coming out, everyone. Excited to be here, excited about this opportunity, about this relationship. You know, when we embarked into this new search for an affiliation, we talked about synergy was going to be very important. For us, we're a young hockey team that's an up and rising hockey club that's having a lot of success with our young players, and development is a big part of that. So for us, you know, the affiliation, the relationship needed to be based a lot on ice, off ice, everything that's around the hockey club needed to be built around development. And from the first phone call that I had with Todd, and subsequent phone calls with the ownership group and the head coach and Dan, it just felt right. It felt like the message that we were speaking about was very, very similar to what we're trying to do in Arizona and Tucson. So it was an easy fit, followed by a nice dinner with the ownership group, just to making sure that we're all on the same page and what our end goal was. And you know, at the end of the day, everyone uses the word development. I still think winning is a part of development. You got to learn how to win. So we're hoping that, you know, the players that we were able to have their career start here in Rapid City are going to be able to kind of be on ice and off the ice with the coaching staff and getting better on skills, and also helping Rapid City win some hockey game, which then will move up to Tucson and then hopefully to the National Hockey League. You know, in the past, we were here 3-4 years ago, and you know, if you look at the history there, we had 3 or 4 players that played here in Rapid City that went on to, you know, wear the Arizona Coyotes jersey. So that's the type of relationship we're looking for. You know, if we're able to have those players develop here, move on, and make the NHL, it's going to be it's a win-win. You'll have a great hockey player here for a few seasons, and then obviously helping us win some hockey games in Arizona, which is the ultimate goal of all these hockey players, is to make the National Hockey League. So again, thanks again for coming out. Appreciate it, and really looking forward to this relationship. Thank you.
Before we field questions from our local media members, I'd like to bring up the head coach, Daniel Tatro, for some remarks on the partnership.
Bring this back up. Thanks, Steve, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to fly into Rapid City. He's a busy guy. This time of year, you're signing guys, you're on the phones with agents, myself included, and thanks for coming out. And real excited for this partnership and this relationship that we're going to have with the Coyotes. I know we had one several years ago, and it was great. Talk about 4 guys making it to the NHL level, that's quite something. When people talk about affiliations, that's what you want to talk about as a coach. I'm here to develop guys. I want to thank Nello for flying in from Chicago, my partner, my assistant there. Thank you, Nello, for coming. He's another guy that works well with the young kids, and like I said, when they send down guys from Tucson, our responsibility is to make these guys better players and better human beings to hopefully one day, get them prepared to make the jump to the American League and hopefully one day at the NHL. So I'm looking forward as a coach to work with these young kids. We got something great going from last year with a lot of returning players. Some of the key parts are signed back here. I know we're announcing one guy a week, but there's quite a few more that are signed, and excited to be back in Rapid City. So you mix those guys with the guys we're going to get from Tucson, it should be a great season. So it's exciting times, even with the affiliation in the NASCAR, like Todd mentioned. And they had number 77 rush car there. Everyone thought back home that I was driving the car. I mean, I'd be the wrong guy for that. I'm the kind of guy, I got a Camry and I put cruise control on Mount Rushmore Road, so I thought that was kind of funny. But great things are happening, and I'm looking forward to working with Steve and also the head coach, Jay Verity. I've had a couple conversations with him on the phone. He's a great guy to talk to, and we're going to have a good relationship, and communication is going to be key. And whenever they send down players, we're going to work hard to develop them at the best of our abilities. And Nello and I take pride in that. So let's have a winning season. And like I said, Arizona is an up-and-coming team. Like Steve said, actually, I watched them quite a bit last season because they're young, they're talented. They've got a lot of young prospects. They drafted well the last several years. So this was the right deal because of that situation as well. Look for them to make the playoffs next year at the NHL level as well. They had a lot of injuries, and one thing they did well in Tucson is develop those young kids. When they had a lot of injuries in Arizona, they were ready. So Jay did a good job, the head coach in Tucson, to develop those guys so they were ready to take that next step. So it's the same trickle-down effect here in Rapid, and we're going to do the same thing, and thank you.
Bring this back down. At this time, I'd like to field our local media members if they have any questions for our panel up here.
I'll direct one to Steve, Joe Cavanaugh with Rapid City Journal. There was a relationship, I believe 2015 through 2017, that for whatever reason dissolved, and I'm curious what you saw in Rapid City and the Rush now that reignited the desire to be back there.
Yeah, my role was way different back in 2015 when we were here. I didn't have as much of a relationship, so I don't know exactly what happened, what transpired. So I can't speak for that very much and give you any details of exactly why we moved on. But what I can say now is the ownership group that I dealt with and dealing with Todd, to me that made sense. It was a natural fit from the first phone call. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people like to say that, but when we hung up the phone in our offices, I was just like, here we go. This is what I want to hear. So that's for us. It was just that was the fit. What they're trying to do. They're obviously making a lot of changes. Like I said, they did have somewhat of an ownership change. We're going through the same scenario in Arizona, and we went through a lot of changes. We believe is for the better in the last 2-3 seasons to put ourselves in a position where people are talking about us maybe making the playoffs next year. So good things for us. So we're hoping that the changes that are happening down here and Todd coming in and changing the atmosphere and changing the culture here and trying to build something special is something we wanted to hear, and we want to try to see happen too and help if we can.
Any other questions for our panel?
I'll ask Todd a question. Steve kind of addressed it. He wasn't here. Most of these people weren't here, including yourself. There have been a lot of changes in this organization, and this is kind of a critical year for all of this to come together. Bodes well, I would think, for Rapid City.
No doubt. We're super excited, and I think I speak for the ownership group, myself, coach, our front office, everybody. It's a good fit, and to his point, a lot of times in these type of situations, it isn't necessarily the names on the jersey, right? It's the leadership involved with those conversations, and so in 2015, he was doing his own thing, I was doing my thing, right? And they were in different spots, right? And so now that they're connecting in this situation is a completely different situation the way it was. However, we still have the basic same principles, right? We need to be a developmental league, and that doesn't just start and end with our hockey players. It's our coaching staff. It's the officials on the ice. It's our front office staff. Everyone that wants to get to that next level, we want to help do that. And that was one of the things that I talked to Steve about, was just, hey, we want this to be an organizational growth opportunity for our group. And certainly we want to start that with the players, but want it to be across the board. And so, yeah, I mean, the relationship is going in the right direction. There's a lot of synergy, like we both spoke about. And you know, you can pick up these leadership groups and put them in any organizations, and I think it would have been a good fit. And I think that's the direction we want to go, and work with good people. And we want to bring in good people as far as our staff is concerned, hockey operations, you know, and players. And good people typically bring good results. And I think that's the same mindset that Steve and his team have. Good people bring good results, and I think we want all of that, you know, across the board.
Joe, if you want to go for the hat trick, Coach Tatro's on the end.
I made this as well. You talked about the developmental aspect of it, and the nature of what you're doing here this year as compared to last year will change a little bit because of that. Obviously, development's always part of it. But kind of a new challenge for you this year as well, I would think.
Yeah, you know, it's a new challenge. We had Minnesota as my first year head coach, had quite a few players from Minnesota. You know, a lot of rookies coming out of college, and you know, Nello and I's job was to develop these kids, and we did it with the best of our ability. But now going in my third year as head coach, I feel more comfortable as a coach and as a person on the ice explaining things. And so my job is to work with these young prospects that Tucson send down, and you know, and work with them on the ice, and you know, just making better hockey players. Taking our time after practices, working with them with drills, or they have questions, they want to watch video clips. That's my job, to work hard with the kids and make them jump to the next level. So I'm excited for that.
Any other questions from our media for the panel? All right, with that being said, sorry. Do fans want to ask any questions? Any of the fans, all the loyal fans that came out here today?
When do we start hockey again?
Not soon enough.
I don't.
It never stops.
It does to us when we have to say goodbye.
Yeah.
But we're ready to say hello again.
All right, with that being said, we have one more presentation to make. Nice little photo op for all three of our panelists up front. So, gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind grabbing your jerseys. So at this time, we'll now begin our one-on-one media breakouts. Mr. Sullivan from the Coyotes organization will be up here on stage with the Coyotes and Roadrunners backdrop. Coach Tatro, Coach Ferrara, and Todd will be over at the Rush backdrop there in the corner as well, and Scott Mueller from the ownership group. And for everybody else, our reception will begin up in the club level just shortly after that. Thank you again so much for coming today.